It's very different because when you decide to become a teacher, obviously you love the curriculum that you're teaching or the subject that you're teaching, but like really it's about the kids. And it's really difficult to have um, a actual curriculum that you go about and like try to see if they're understanding whatever it is like your prompt is or whatever it is that you're doing in the classroom, when most of them will not have video, they won't have audio. So the only way that you even can communicate with your students is like through comments, and comments take a while, especially if their Wi-Fi is slow. So for the most part you'll be sitting there like
It's just different. The day-to-day, teaching model has totally changed. What I have really enjoyed, I've tried to take a really positive kind of view of it, but I've been able to meet with my students one-on-one a lot more frequently than I was able to in class. And that's something that my school really strives to do. Like the goal is to meet with every student you have in class for at least 10 minutes just to talk about some academic goals, but also things unrelated. So this time, now that we have so much of it, I've been able to spend like 15 minutes with each student at least twice since this started.
I work in South LA, so that's also like a much different demographic. And so I'd even say like upwards of like 60% of my kids don't even have technology at home. So all of the students had to borrow Chromebooks from the school that I work for them to even be able to access anything online. And even then, it's still a challenge within itself because a lot of kids don't have Wi-Fi either. Why have Wi-Fi if you don't have computers? So a lot of it has just been like the socioeconomic part of like why it's been difficult for me to teach right now.
Just a lot of things online, of course. And then other adaptations I've had to make is just my expectations, adapting expectations for students and families.
A lot of the same. I think it's just harder because sometimes if they can't find something with their computer or they're having difficulties, I can't help them in the way that I would have. And usually the students that I particularly work with are the most vulnerable and they need the most help.
I'm lucky if I have 5 people show up out of the 40 students that I might have. I've had 12 people in one class, and that was pretty nice. But with that being said, your prompts need to be super clear and super concise because a lot of the times kids are not going to reach out to you, and they also have missed class with you.
Getting kids to wake up on time. Honestly, like my whole group meeting is at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the first 2 weeks, my attendance was like 20 of my 33, which was pretty good for the first couple of weeks, I guess. But there were like last week, I finally got my first whole group meeting where all 33 showed up, but I've been making like house calls at like 8:45 and having to wake up certain students, not like the whole class, but a couple of students. I made some wake up calls. So I have their cell phone number now and they have mine, which is scary. I'm like, I don't want that, but there's no other way to do it. So
I'd say the biggest challenge would be the lack of access that the kids have had to technology.
Not having that interaction and getting kids like kind of trying to persuade them to show up to your class, like for high school and junior high, because obviously elementary school is still so much different. Everybody's excited. Like they're like, oh my gosh, they want to like show and tell and everything, but like you're not going to get that with juniors as much. So having them show up to class is a little bit challenging.
I don't want to say this they are not taking it seriously because I've seen students like who have been extremely difficult in a traditional classroom setting that have shown up to every single session and have done every assignment that I've assigned. And students who are normally like very, very good students are not getting logged onto their sessions because they forgot they slept in until 12 past their session.
I think it's kind of hit or miss. Some students that are those students that have been independent since the beginning of the year are taking this seriously and are being very adamant about finishing everything on time. I get like hundreds of emails a week from my students now, which is also something different, just like keeping up with that communication even when I'm not video chatting with them. But it's half and half.
It's hard. I will say the majority of the students, I think depending on where you're at, for instance, I am in a lower income school. My students don't necessarily, not all of them at least, I feel like the majority of them don't take the remote learning as seriously as they would if they're in person with you, because there's something different that happens as a teacher when you're face to face with a student, and like that connection with them, even through a screen. I think through a screen it's just hard for them to kind of like not respect, more so like want to be like, okay, yeah, I'll do the assignment. Whereas when you're in person and you're like, are you gonna turn the assignment? They're like, yes, I pinky promise. Like, you know.
Some are really liking it. Like for example, one of my students who she had like her disability, like what she qualifies for is ADHD, and so she gets in trouble a lot in class. She can't control her impulses, and she's like a great student. Like when I get her alone, she's fantastic, but that's not realistic. She needs to be in a classroom setting majority of the time. And so she's been doing all her homework. She's been doing all of her sessions. Her dad, who's also a teacher, who I've been in contact with, he was just like, you know, like, this may sound bad, but like I didn't realize like how capable she was because of all of the grades and the calls that I get from her parents. I mean, from her teachers. She goes, I didn't realize like what level she was truly at. And I was like, oh yes, like she's very bright. She just struggles with her environment, and that has something to do with her ability. And he was like, yeah, she actually asked to be homeschooled because she does better this way. And I mean, not that all of my kids have like had that, but I think that again, it's not for every student, but for some students who have difficulty in the classroom setting or getting in trouble a lot when it's not their fault for impulses that they can't control, I think that this is working for them.
I think in the first 2 weeks, it was like this, oh my God, it's an extended spring break kind of thing. And now that we're coming to the end of the year, 6th grade in my district is the last year of elementary school. So my students in particular are feeling really bummed about not being at school for all of these last kind of things. We do like a field trip to the park for the 6th graders, and we have a promotion for our 6th graders. And so they're missing all of these end of year events. And one of my students, she put it like, I feel like I'm being kicked out of Pomeroy. And it's just so heartbreaking to hear things like that.
There is a smaller amount of students who are like, I'm chilling. Like, I'm staying at home, I'm sleeping in, I'm having a good time. And there's a big amount that are like, I will never take going to school for granted ever again. Like, I will never take, like, I miss my friends, I miss my boyfriend, I miss my girlfriend, I miss my teachers, which is, I think it's a different type of reality check to have to go through.
It's like little quirks and things, nothing significant. I feel like I have funnier stories from like a traditional classroom setting. So.
This one student in particular, she's very candid with me and is like, yeah, I woke up at 11 o'clock. I've been going to sleep at 4. And they're just so, I don't know if it's because we're not at school and they're not seeing me in person. In a one-on-one at school, no one would ever tell me they stayed up till 4 a.m. But here in this like online world that we're in, she was like, yeah, I've been staying up till 4. And so I'm waking up really late. And I'm like, 4 o'clock in the morning, what are you doing until then? She's like, I don't know, it's like these weird, like I just click on all these YouTube videos and I just keep clicking and I'm like, okay, so maybe we need to put the phone away. And it's just these really frank conversations that are happening now that wouldn't happen in the same way, I guess.
One of the kids started asking me about their grade, and he was like, I have a D-, is this going to bring it up? And this is all in the comment section. Like, I have a D-, is this going to bring it up? And I explained to him, you know, participation is everything, showing up, doing the work. You do the work, you get the grade. And I was like, we'll work on it. Don't worry. Maybe I'll come out with some like extra credit assignments. And so I go to like explain the assignment that's coming up. And mid-sentence, I'm like explaining things, and I'm not kidding you. He unmuted his microphone to fart. And I was like, and he didn't realize like it shows who's talking. So I was like, sir, are you kidding me? Like, you're gonna, and then I was like, you're gonna seriously say that? Do that right now. when you just asked me about your grade being brought up, and he was like, no, 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 I'm so sorry. It was my dog. It was my dog. And I was like, oh, of course it was your dog. Thank God I had brothers, because it definitely prepared me for high schoolers. Let me just tell you.
Not being able to see them. I know that's so cliche, but like just that limited interaction, and especially in 6th grade, like I'm used to them being so weird and like doing all of their TikTok videos and stuff. And I always used to be on them, like, okay, we're in class, like this isn't the place. But now I miss that stuff. Like I miss seeing them under their desks doing these weird little dances and just, I don't know, hearing the side conversations. I think right now it does feel like I'm just talking at them for so long. And so those interruptions I kind of miss.
I much rather be in a traditional classroom setting with my kids and being able to interact with them.
Like genuinely, I miss the kids. I miss the kids and the interaction, and like, you know, it's just the worrying about them, because you do become so close to your students, whether or not they're your actual class, or even if you're a substitute and you're floating around. You just get to know them on a different level, and so not getting to like see them and check in on them is just really, really difficult.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. These videos take hours to make, and it just makes me feel good when I see a new subscriber or when you hit the like button. I appreciate that too. I want to say a big thank you to the teachers who took time out of their lives to talk to me about their experiences. And if you have any interesting experiences yourself as a student or a teacher, or just any opinion at all, I'd love to hear it. So please leave it in the comments below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.